All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course. On pause and repause. Have to do that every single day. CJ, Jesus wrote the Bible. Yeah, I don't think that happened, my man. Zim the Despot is spelling out Pajit in chat, actually, at the moment. We'll be talking about quite a bit of news today, because of course yesterday I couldn't get around to my live stream, so there's an excess of it currently. We have staggering U.S. tariffs begin as Trump widens trade war. This is of course from the New York Times. It's obviously an unbiased title to the article. Of course, the tariffs they're being loosely applied. It sort of depends on the nation. Whether they're willing to negotiate an actual trade deal. I would note that if you look at the map in this particular link, which I'll actually share out here, I'll put it on Rumble and on YouTube. You should look at this. It'll be pretty funny. Interesting where those blue nations are. It's almost like the United States is posturing at the moment more than anything else. We have Chikungunya, actually an outbreak of over 7,000 cases in China now and continuing to spread. It's mosquito-borne. Apparently this virus makes it feel like your bones are being twisted around. I can imagine that's not particularly pleasant, so it's not generally a deadly disease, but it's definitely a debilitating one. Speaking of debilitation, Rehab exposes the dark underside of U.S. drug treatment centers. Yes, indeed, drug treatment in the United States is a joke, basically, more than anything else. Sweeney and the unsettling legacy of the blonde bombshell. Yes, they are trying to slut-shame somebody for wearing blue jeans, effectively. Liberals are. I found that very, very funny. Disney and Lucasfilm have settled a lawsuit from Gina Carano over the Mandalorian firing. We don't have the full details of this. We don't know how much she got. We don't know what kind of deal was actually made, but she seems happy with it. Probably because it's in the multi-million-dollar range. I'm sure that she can simply say, fuck you, and then retire at this point and live a cottagecore life if she wants. Which would be hilarious if she did, by the way. Her firing was completely nonsensical. It never made any sense at all. A newly discovered gene helped this moss defy gravity. Yes, apparently researchers in Japan stuck moss into a centrifuge. The results were quite interesting. So we'll be talking about all of these things. Cooking Inferno, sticks, crypto's ripping. Hope you still have some. Yes, indeed I do. AP Special Education. I miss her so much, bro. Which one? Gina Carano or Sweeney? Sydney Sweeney? Or somebody in your own particular life? I'm not sure which one you're referring to, so I don't know. So yeah, we'll be getting right into the news. First, with Trump's tariffs. They have now taken effect. More broadly than before, although again, it kind of depends on the nation. You can look at the map here. Effectively, Trump's tariffs have already kicked in for a shit ton of countries. Now, some of them are trying to defy the Trump administration and say, we're not going along with it. Others have said, whatever. They shrug their shoulders and they strike some sort of deal. For instance, the European Union, Japan, Vietnam, the Philippines, South Korea. Our closest allies in both Europe and Eastern Asia have already struck deals. They're saying, this is perfectly fine. Reciprocal tariffs, whatever. They're not worried too much about it. Other countries, generally speaking, have been a bit less receptive, specifically China and Mexico. But in the end, I have a feeling that Trump's tariff war will be successful. And I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to get egg on their face when they say, well, it's going to destroy the economy. It's going to be like the Great Depression all over again. I don't think that's going to happen. Last speaking, by the way, please stop poking. I have a feeling that in the end, it's not really going to be a big issue. The United States will marginally improve its economic stance in the world. Most other countries, they'll simply, negotiate, and there'll be various trade deals. This is what usually happens, too. The United States is the world's largest economy. Other nations that are, in part at least, reliant on exporting to us, therefore, don't really have a lot of leverage. Donald Trump's concern is really, really basic when you think about it. Hey, you're tariffing our goods. We're going to tariff your goods. Liberals went completely insane over this and had a mental breakdown. But the thing is, it doesn't really make sense, because why are these other countries allowed to enact tariffs and we're not? How is it that it's working for them but it can't work for us? Nobody has yet, by the way, properly described exactly why this conundrum exists. And they think that the United States economy is very, very unique. It's the only economy in the world where if you levy tariffs against other countries, your economy simply comes crashing down around you. I thought that very funny, actually. Alright, last beacon. Sorry, but I'm muting you for 5 minutes. Sorry, but you won't stop spamming. If you want to send a super chat, that's one thing. And if you want to say it a couple of times, that's fine too. But if you're simply gobbling down all of chat, at some point, I gotta cut you off. It's like, hey, it's okay to have a beer, or maybe even 2 beers, maybe a glass of wine. But when you go and prop up the bar, and at some point you're falling out of your bar stool, at some point people tell you, I think you've had enough. By the way, I don't have beer, but I do have some tea. This is Fireside from Jam and Bean. And let me tell you, the Fireside is now my new favorite. I'm gonna need more of that, my dude. Just saying. Let's go to our sponsors, speaking of Jam and Bean, shall we? Cultivated-mind.com, where you can get mushroom pills. You can also get doggo snacks. 6 different extracts, if I remember correctly. They're really, really good. Doggo couldn't get enough of them, actually. I take my mushroom pills every morning. It helps to invigorate me and keeps me alive, so to speak. So, cultivated-mind.com. We have BiltongUSA.com. Anton can set you up with all sorts of meat. Wagyu, he can set you up with bison, he can set you up with venison, he can set you up with Cabanassi, Angus, you name it, he's pretty much probably already butchered it off and turned it into biltong. Delicious, by the way. You can also get Bovrite and all of these others. Vegemite, Marmite, all these great spreads. He's got tea too, actually. And then, of course, Stick, Sex, and Hammer mugs, tumblers, and shirts are available as well. Then we have jamandbean.com. That is Jamn bean.com. Right now, I'm drinking their tea. But sometimes I drink their coffee. We've got the Clanker blend. For a reason, I personally tested the coffee. That was the one that we arrived on as the best of the 3. And it is nice and smooth. And the teas are great. Like, again, Fireside, the Yunnan Jig is really great if you want a caffeinated tea. The Healer, if you want more of like a medicinal herbal tea. The Fireside is a little bit like, imagine a milder form of a zinger tea, like you get from Celestial or something, with apple notes and a little bit of a buttery aftertaste, almost. I don't know exactly how it was made, or all of the ingredients, but it's delicious. I'm on my 5th cup of the day, actually. And this one is decaffeinated, so yeah. Cooking Inferno. Styx is in a mood today. I'm in a good mood, actually. Today is a good day. Watched Young Frankenstein last night, you know. I'm happy. Darth Cornpop. Howard Stern clearly learned nothing from The Dark Knight. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become pig vomit. Yeah, Stern, which I covered this morning, he's getting canceled by Sirius finally. Stern, though, is not the biggest loser in this particular situation. It's Sirius that's the big loser. Because when you're top man, and Stern is the top man at Sirius effectively, when he gets shit canned because you can't pay him enough, and several 100,000 more viewers or listeners in Sirius's case dry up, that's going to be a bigger problem for them than for him. He's already made hundreds of millions. I don't even know. He might have made over $1 billion with the Sirius deal. He's got his. He doesn't have to worry. It's Sirius that has to worry. So, yeah, as far as the Stern saga, number one, yeah, I mean, Stern has gotten old and stale. But number two, Sirius got older and staler than Howard Stern did. Like, he's still occasionally funny. Sirius, meanwhile, what other talent do they have? I mean, now that Ozzy's dead, I guess his boneyard goes away. Without Ozzy and without Stern, what the fuck are they gonna do? And by the way, when Stern came back from vacation to make a singular episode mainly dedicated to Ozzy, it was a tip of the hat to fucking Sirius in the ass. Cooking Inferno. I was just about to make espresso. Gene Jackman, Young Frankenstein. Yeah, apparently that line was ad-libbed, actually, if I remember correctly. I was gonna make espresso. Taco Woman Sandy Ravage. What is your theory about early human migration? I think that the modern human race was the Neanderthals, and they came out of Europe generally. They were forced south by the advance of glaciers and ice sheets and so forth. They interbred generally with the Homo sapiens that they encountered further south, and that they formed a fusion race. I believe in the Bach saga, actually, more than anything else. CZO, do you believe in manifestation? Depends on the context. Yes, I believe it's possible to use energy magic and things like that. I've done blood rituals before, actually. I've got a crystal that is literally painted red with my blood. And I don't do this out of self-harm or to be creepy or anything. I do it as part of energetic rituals. I find it funny when people will believe in, an ethereal god or angels or something like that, but they don't believe in any possibility that magic exists. It's pretty funny. Zachary hears, yeah, their wolf, their castle. Why are you talking like that? One of the greatest movies ever made, by the way. Ripsidian, how does we was Kangs for your figure into your theory, Sticks? Well, you look at the Nubian kingdom. They were building pyramids alongside the Egyptians. This was a group of black people, the Nubians. So, yeah, technically speaking, yeah, they was Kangs. So were Scandinavians, so were Japanese people, so were everyone else. Everyone seems to have been building megaliths around those periods of time. You look at the dirt mounds, the Serpent Mound and so forth, that were created by, again, so-called native groups. They're quite impressive. They're enormous, in fact. There had to have been a significantly advanced civilization in the middle of the United States, what became the United States, around that period of time. Unfortunately, when they began building railroads and other things, other infrastructure, they pretty much destroyed all of those ruins. So we're not exactly sure sort of the timeline of the mound builders, for example. But yeah, the Nubians, they had a steady civilization. Chikungunya has broken out. Yes, China has chikungunya virus now, and over 7,000 people have been infected fairly recently in Guangdong province, where health officials have reported more than 7,000 cases as of Wednesday, per the Associated Press. The virus spreads when a mosquito feeds on an infected person and then bites another person. I've often thought, isn't it not possible that if a mosquito were to bite an AIDS patient, somebody who wasn't taking their drugs and they had full blown AIDS, wouldn't it be possible if it bit another person for it to be mosquito borne? I mean, it does transfer by blood. It would have to be, shortly after it bit the initial person. But I have the feeling that it should be physically possible now, shouldn't it? Anyways, that's just because I watched Dallas Buyers Club the other day, and great movie, by the way. It implicates Dr. Fauci, actually, generally speaking, because he was in charge of the AIDS response, which was so badly botched. But a good movie overall. So the CDC has issued a level 2 alert in the nation of China. Chikungunya cases have also been spreading throughout Europe, according to the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control. How wonderful, by the way. This used to be a disease that was not really present in, what you would consider the Western world. It has since, though, spread considerably. Now, the fact that China's having such a large outbreak, can I please ask a rhetorical question? Is there not a chance that some sort of bioengineering has gone on and we're seeing an insertion of a new disease in order for more authoritarianism to reign? Because I have the feeling that that may actually be the case. Just saying, it's a rhetorical question. BW, what do you think of them taking away the snacks from the hippos on stamps? Wait, what? I think it's good, but I don't want to pay for their diabetes just so I can pay for their health care, too. Part 2 coming. Oh, you mean the SNAP benefits and stuff. I would say, generally, I support, in general, SNAP being used only for healthy food. I mean, the problem being that the government is the one determining what food is healthy, and as we know, with the FDA's food pyramid, that is not always the best idea in the world. So, again, double-edged sword. Darth Corn Pop, if you're blue and you don't know where to go, why don't you go where fashion sits? Puddin' on the Ritz. Good song, by the way. Apparently, the originator of that really liked the taco version. That was a band. It was a one-hit wonder, Putting on the Ritz. Water and tea. And also V8. Should I need it. Neon Dystopia. Have you been paying attention to Bridge? WF corporate wokeness is a new disguise. Check out the VTuber Kirsch for the deets. Shoom. I'll have to look into that. Skippy, I'm afflicted with negrosis. BW, I don't agree with taking away expensive meat like steak, because if they run out of food stamps and have to wait, that's on them. It's no more tax money than they would already be spending. Yeah. I mean, I would rather, if somebody's on food stamps, I'd rather them be buying a steak than be buying like cheap-ass burger anyway, because the whole point of the program is to get healthy food. We know that processed foods aren't healthy generally. Get a couple cans of soup or something like that, that's one thing. But things like hamburgers, hot dogs, and stuff that tend to be more cheap are much shittier for you. Copium Poppies. Going to see Nine Inch Nails tonight. It'll be my 4th time seeing them. Excellent. Have a good time, my man. Kirchtort. Bobby Bobbinson, the foot pyramid. Yeah, you're obsessed with that topic. Yeah, the FDA's food pyramid was bullshit for years and years. Hey kids, make sure to eat an entire loaf of Wonder Bread every day. It'll make you healthier. Somehow most of these people didn't end up with chronic diseases. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah. I wonder if it's ever been studied whether mosquitoes can transmit AIDS. I mean, it's blood related, so I have to assume. I have to assume that it'd be possible. Probably not particularly likely in any particular case of getting bitten by a mosquito, but, it could happen, I guess. Rehab exposes the dark underside of U.S. drug treatment centers. Here's the skinny. The skinny is this. Drug treatment centers don't really work worth shit. Mostly people relapse or they're in there because, you get some 17-year-old kid that, possessed marijuana in the wrong state and they get forced into drug rehab even though, they only smoked it a couple of times that week or something like that. By the way, the trees are fucking each other again. We got a big rain the other day and now it's dry again. So the trees are inseminating one another and it makes me a little bit hoarse. But yeah, no, the real skinny is that drug rehab centers don't do jack shit. It's sort of like groups like Alcoholics Anonymous and things like that. I mean, alcohol being a drug anyway. It's the same sort of thing, ritualistic humiliation and empty promises and all of this other horseshit. Getting rid of addiction is very difficult. I mean, yeah, there's the occasional person who managed to quit smoking after years of smoking a pack a day. They tend to be a rarity. There's the occasional person that used to slosh themselves and they've gone 7 years without a single drink of alcohol. There's the occasional person that was railing cocaine all day and they've stopped using it. Most often, it's based on their own work, their own recognition, their own attempts. Sometimes there are failures before a success. It's based on their own initiative. It's not going to be based on a treatment center. Most of the time, that does not work. Just the way that it works. It's sad, but it's also true. I think that we should embrace what is true for public policy purposes, instead of deluding ourselves. Ramon CGTC, with energy magic, why tulpas are a thing. They're not a thing. That's delusional. I do not believe in tulpas. I think I made a video on the subject actually some time ago. Yes, you can manifest, some sort of illusory character or something like that. But it doesn't make it real. Maybe in another, dimension or something like that. Maybe you're creating an army. It's actually slightly rooted in an Egyptian practice. Here's the fun part. Tulpas are a little bit similar to the practice in ancient Egypt of taking little clay figurines and putting them in your sarcophagus with you. The idea was that they became animated, assuming that you knew the right spells. They became animated in the netherworld, basically, the underworld, and they would be your slaves for the rest of eternity. It is kind of similar, honestly. But no, I don't believe in the New Age definition of tulpas. And you see people posting about that on creepy forums, and they're like, oh, how can I get a demon girlfriend to fuck and stuff like that. It's like, that's not quite the way that it works, but alright. Whatever floats your boat. Cooking Inferno, decrease the surplus population. Ebenezer Scrooge. Yeah, George C. Scott, by the way, still the best Scrooge. I will die on this hill if anyone disagrees. Copium poppies. There is no reason steak shouldn't be able to be bought with food stamps. Steak shouldn't even be considered a luxury food item at all. It should be considered a staple food and therefore cheap. I wish. I like to have a ribeye once in a while. Yeah, ribeye is my favorite. There are plenty of cuts of steak that are good. T-bones are good, but ribeye is, in my opinion, where it's at. Jesus Christ. I'm all sniffy and coffee today. The trees won't stop raping me. Reminds me a little bit of that scene from Evil Dead where the vine comes out of that tree and fucks that chick. Yeah. Yeah. I would say ribeye is the best. T-bone is close. And also, what's it called? Oh, I can't remember the name of it. Flat iron steak. If you, by the way, get a good flat iron steak and cut it up in the right way, you have to do it in one direction only, and you put it in your beef stew, it'll melt away into little pieces of meat. Like stew meat will stay intact, so you'll have chunks of meat. You should put that in too, by the way. But the flat iron steak will dissolve away into little shreds, and it'll thicken the stew. And boy, oh boy, did it taste good that time that I made it with a flat iron steak. That was great. Cooking Inferno sticks. You want to go to heaven? Have a perfectly cooked hanger steak. Best of all cuts. I've never tried that one. I guess I'll have to. Copium poppies. I had a ribeye fried in bacon grease the other day. So good. Shouldn't be a $30+ for 2 ribeyes, though. Yeah, but I mean, once in a while, it's worth it. And you can always get like the cheap shit, like a cube steak. Actually, if you have cube steak, as long as you cut it up really small and don't overcook it, you can put that in like a mac and cheese, and it's a cheap source of protein. It's pretty good. By the way, speaking of mac and cheese, the other night I strayed even further from God. I had a macaroni and cheese that was Cheeto flavored, and never before then did I know that this existed. I loaded it with ketchup too, so it was good in the end. I mean, it was extra creamy, extra cheesy, so I didn't really mind. But I was thinking to myself how absurd it is to have Cheeto flavored mac and cheese. We have sinned. We are all doomed. It was funny though. Actually, it wasn't that bad. I mean, I'm being hyperbolic. Sydney Sweeney and the Unsettling Legacy of the Blonde Bombshell. This is a Vox article, so you can't expect a lot of editorial fairness with regards to this. Sydney Sweeney decides to do an ad for American Eagle jeans, I believe it was. Was it American Eagle? Yeah, it was American Eagle jeans. And she's attractive. She looks good in the jeans, although I'd rather her do a nudist ad or something like that. That would be more entertaining. She's a bottle blonde, but she's very attractive. She's conventionally attractive. I notice that lately there's a trend of dudes thinking that it's cool to say, well, she's actually mid. No, Sydney Sweeney's not mid. She's quite clearly very attractive, okay? It's not simping to say so. It's just the goddamn reality. That's problem number one. Problem number two is the liberal legacy media has a problem with the ad because she said, I have good genes. And of course, it's a play on the word genes because genes as in genetics, genes as in the pants that she's unfortunately wearing, they sound the same. And so it's a pun, basically. It's not the most well-made ad in the world, but it's funny. It's humorous, and it certainly got a lot of attention, so they're probably patting themselves on the backs. The fact is that there's nothing wrong with saying that you have good genetics. Like, who has better genetics? Somebody, Sweeney, or somebody who cannot walk, their dick is 2 inches long and shit like that. quite clearly one of these people is more genetically healthy. This is not eugenics. This is just a statement of reality. Some people simply have different health issues than others. For example, in my family, on the Warwick side, heart disease runs in the family. I don't currently seem to have any problems, for which I'm very grateful. I do not have arthritis. My dad has severe degenerative arthritis. It runs in the family. On the Hazelton side, depression tends to run in the family. It's more on the melancholia side. By the way, another good movie by David Lynch, if I remember correctly. Anyway, I don't have any of these things. And again, for which I'm thankful. But they run in the family. If somebody has severe arthritis, they're not going to be as physically able as somebody who does not have arthritis. Again, I think I dodged that bullet. I don't have any joint pain, so I'm like, oh, whew, I dodged one there. This is just a fact. And it extends to things that are invisible. For instance, your heart, your liver, pancreas, stuff like that, your joints. Things that are less visible and things that are visible. So a person can be conventionally attractive, and there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. The only reason that they have a problem with this is that they're trying to equate her with Nazism, basically. She's supporting eugenics because she said she had good genes. She was referring to her pants, actually. It's a double entendre, admittedly, but it's not really a pointed statement now, is it? Can a black person not wear the same jeans? A Jewish person? Can't they buy American Eagle? I'm pretty sure that they're able to go to those stores. I'm pretty sure that they're not segregated. So it was just friggin' retarded. Cooking Inferno. Sweeney has awesome tits. She has a nice butt too. Copium Poppies. It gets worse than Cheeto mac and cheese. I went to the store a couple months ago and saw Flamin' Hot Cheetos mac and cheese. I'm still traumatized. They're not actually that hot, by the way. It's funny, the hottest thing that I ever had in the Netherlands was Doritos, actually. the hot Doritos were the hottest thing I tried. Victor Elstad, try putting a spoonful of cream cheese in mac and cheese next time. No, I don't think so. I think I'll skip that one. Fragile Wolf, I think even Satan might reject you for that mac and cheese choice. There might be a layer below hell. I would try it, though. It wasn't bad. It's just the idea of bothering. And it didn't even taste like Cheetos. It tasted like normal mac and cheese. That is to say, creamy? Yes. Decent? Absolutely. Came out wonderful. But couldn't really taste the Cheeto in it anyway, so why the fuck bother branding it? Zachary Antle. Sydney is my pick to play Stevie Nicks if they ever do a Fleetwood Mac movie. That could work, actually. I agree with you. Taco Woman Sandy Ravage. Sloth Fratelli has extra genes. Ramon C. GTC. Thanks for answering. Learning occultism. Excellent. God damn it, pine trees. Stop fucking for a while. You don't have to have a pine tree orgy every single day. It's like the other day, because it was raining, it was perfectly fine. Another thing is it might be the Canadian wildfires. It is still hazy out there, so I guess that might play a role. Disney and Lucasfilm got fucked in the ass. Yeah, baby. They settled a lawsuit from Gina Carano over the Mandalorian firing. She was, of course, working in the Mandalorian. And then she decided, apparently this is a stupid move. She decided to express herself online. And she said things that other people did not like. And then they shit-canned her. In a lawsuit filed last year, Carano alleged she was filed for voicing right-wing opinions. These are not, by the way, particularly right-wing opinions. On social media, and sought a court order that would force Lucasfilm to recast her. Elon Musk, making good on a promise to foot the legal bill for users who claim they have been discriminated against due to their activity on his platform, helped fund the suit through X. By the way, he has followed through with it a number of times. I want to extend my deepest, most heartfelt gratitude to Elon Musk, a man I've never met, who did this good Samaritan deed for me, Carano said. She's sort of on the cottagecore side, so this is a chick that probably would bang you if you had the money, but at the same time, is traditionalistic, so to speak. They decided here, I'll just read this verbatim. The legal action came after Lucasfilm announced in 2021 that Carano would not return to the hit series after sharing a post, and this is just her sharing a post, in which she said, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? Now, can I ask, again rhetorically, what's wrong with this post? What's inaccurate about it? It's just asking a question, number one. Number two, it is a salient point. It is fundamentally the same. It's exactly the same. Politics always figures into these things. So she supposedly made a whole terrible slurry of posts, falsely suggested that voter fraud occurred during the 2020 presidential election. Wow, how controversial. It's not like 50% of the population already believed that to begin with. So, congratulations to Carano for getting a shit ton of payout. Well, you don't have to work again. You might get reinstated. I don't know why you'd want to work with them again, but, as long as you get that, them fun stubs. Wasn't she like a wrestler or some shit? Or a boxer? BW. She'd bang you around. Have you seen her arms? Yeah, I know. She's pretty cool, actually. There's no reason why she should have been banned from a TV show for the comments that she made. I read them. She's asking a rhetorical question. What's wrong with that? Cooking Inferno. Speaking of hot chick sticks, natural trimmed landing strip or bald? Does not matter. Spacco. She did a video for Turan Tactical. She can shoot too. Yeah, she's pretty cool. Imagine Gina Carano and Sydney Sweeney going at it. That would be funny as hell. Yeah, I've never had a strong preference with regards to women's pubic hair. It's a vagina. You put your penis in it and stuff. That's all you gotta do. A newly discovered gene helped this moss defy gravity. Moss under 10 times the gravity of Earth grew larger chloroplasts and photosynthesized more efficiency. Apparently, at least this one species, I'm going to try to pronounce this, Physkometrium patens. Okay, I managed to pronounce it. It apparently, if you expose it to higher gravity, it will actually grow better. Which is something that they didn't expect because they've done similar experiments with wheat and other grains. And usually additional gravity makes them grow slower. But this moss appears not to have that problem. And I was thinking we should take clumps of this moss or spores laced with yogurt or however you want to deliver it. Seed other planets with the moss. It'd be funny to fire hundreds of rounds of it off onto Jupiter or Saturn or some, one of the gas giants. And then you go back 1,000 years later and you find that the whole planet is inhabited by patches of moss. This could actually feasibly happen. We could probably use species like this. It's apparently a genetic mechanism. So there's a specific gene that's found in this species that may not be in other species. It allows them to grow actually more quickly if they're exposed to more gravity. I found this fascinating. That's your science news for the day. So again, Physcomitrium patens, that's the species name. They were testing it in Japan, actually, which is very interesting. You would think that, that much gravity might actually kill a plant. They put it in a centrifuge, and apparently it liked it. It liked taking the ride. I found that funny. Let's see. Holden Sneedmeyer, Trump requesting a summit with Putin to avoid that deadline. The McConnell-Graham types gnawing at him on the right. Expectations not high. Yeah, it's probably going to be a shit show. But we're going to be hopeful and cross our fingers and hope for the best. Trump has faced nothing but obstinate opposition to his attempts at diplomacy. Yeah, the Graham and McConnell types. Yeah, tell me about them. Yeah, they don't know anything about diplomacy. They've never been in an executive office anyway. So they don't know what they're talking about. They only care about their party and their core ideologies. In Mitch McConnell's case, that means I want to start wars. In Lindsey Graham's case, it means I want to suck cock. These are both very conservative positions, by the way. People are wondering what cottagecore means. Cottagecore is stylistic. You have, especially females, that sort of dress like they're living in a rural cottage somewhere, tending to the sheep and stuff like that. Most of them are actually, though, urbanites in the upper middle class. There are some people, though, that do embrace that lifestyle and they really mean it. Look at Varg and his family, Varg Vikernes. His family is real cottagecore, I would say. He's teaching his kids about how to refrigerate foods without a refrigerator, and his wife is quite clearly literal cottagecore. She's not pretending though. She's making fucking Swiss cheese and shit like that, and he's going off and doing his thing, often in nature, making his survival garden and stuff like that. He's made like a permaculture, a considerable one, by the way. So that I can respect. If you want to have that kind of lifestyle and you really mean it, I can respect that. But then there are people who are just posting for their Instagram. Oh, look at this new dress that I just got. Hee hee, I look like it's the Victorian era. Well, yeah, but you're posting it to Instagram for a reason. It's probably to make money. CJ, only half as fake as I'm a pagan. Yeah, there are people who claim to be pagans too who aren't pagans. Lots of them. Tarred and feathered. How to pronounce coprophagia. Coprophagia. Yes, if you want to eat poo, then, yeah, that's the word for you. Now it has become a Bant stream rabbit. Nice choker, Sticks. It's not a choker. It's an iron cross, actually. Beyond believing. Sticks, I have a hard choice between choosing who my favorite president is. Teddy Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln, or Andrew Jackson. Mine is Jefferson, but Teddy Roosevelt would be up there. I am not a fan of Abraham Lincoln. And if you watch Razorfist's video on Abe Lincoln, you'll see just about why. Completely overrated in virtually every aspect. Jackson was a good president, though. even though he used to get completely wasted and throw chairs across the room in bars. He allied with pirates to fight the British soldiers, so I give him my respect for that. Several thousand of them under John Lafitte, actually, which I've been literally compared to when I was down in New Orleans. They thought I was John Lafitte, and it was pretty funny. But yeah, he rallied a bunch of pirates, and they fought with Andrew Jackson. Cooking Inferno, note to self, search for video of Lindsey Graham sucking off Mitch McConnell with sound. He mainly wanted to suck off John McCain. You know that there was some sort of weird dynamic there. Nobody in their right mind thinks otherwise, I think, at this point. Now that John McCain is dead, I'm assuming that Lindsey Graham is celibate, actually. Cooking Inferno, there ain't no Iron Cross, looks more like a pour le mérite. Well, yeah, it's an award. Bobby, why do you keep saying ussy? Daniel Price. That tri-corner hat makes you look like a tri-corner bitch. Like you auditioned for the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, got rejected, and went to console yourself on some dude's mast. I love that comment. Don't think... I think there was... Oh yeah, the news has actually folded over, so... We're gonna see this. Whistleblower ties Clinton camp to fake Russia hack. We've known that for some time. It's funny. This is one thing that I did want to discuss. It's interesting that the legacy media and so many commentators will claim that it's a conspiracy theory to say the Clintons had anything to do with what went on, even though they financed the Steele dossier. You can prove this. We know that they did this. It's beyond objection. We know that they financed the Steele dossier, which led to the groundwork that became the Russiagate hoax. But you're not allowed to mention the Clintons, otherwise you're just a conspiracy theorist, and they'll look at you like you're just saying that aliens abducted you last night and shoved PCP in your ass. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's true. Brock Sampson. Sticks, what the fuck is going on with Trump and Republicans going balls to the wall with pro-Israel? I know a lot of MAGA people, and they're really put off by it. Yeah, but you gotta understand, it's a GOP administration. So it's not a surprise in any way, shape, or form that they're gonna go through the motions. I would point out, though, Donald Trump did something that no other Republican president has done. Obama did it, but no other Republican president. He actually criticized Netanyahu. He came out and said, do not attack Iran. And Israel attacked Iran. And Trump said, well, this is real regrettable. This is really going to set peace talks back. And actually dared to criticize them. So I guess we got a little bit of progress. Neck Romancer. Rule of thumb. Don't eat any shellfish that was dead before being cooked. Look the lobster in its beady, hateful eyes before steaming. Yeah, I mean, with scallops, it's a different situation. Yeah, I loved making that main video. For those of you that didn't see it, PETA is suing the state of Maine for steaming lobsters. Yeah, when they have their lobster fest, when they have their, apparently week-long celebration of eating this particular animal, they steamed them. And PETA had a big dick about it and decided to sue the state of Maine. Now, here's my thing. If you don't have a problem with squishing a spider or an ant, you shouldn't have any problem with steaming the goddamn lobster. Because the lobster is barely self-aware. It is an aquatic insect, effectively. So who gives a shit? On myself, I do not like lobster. I've had it 3 times in my life. I haven't liked it any time. I had it at Red Lobster, and it's basically like a more bland version of crayfish anyway. Crayfish, crawfish, crawdad, whatever you want to call it. It depends on your region. I had it Asian style, and it had some sort of sauce on it, and I found it foul, actually. Then I had it at a really fancy restaurant one time, and I didn't like it then either. By the way, did you know lobster initially entered the food chain for humans mostly as a prison food? Originally, it was dirt cheap, and it was often fed to prisoners, actually. This is several hundred years ago. Back in the 19th century, rich people, you would never have found lobster at a rich person's table. Nowadays, it's like, oh, it's $50 for this one tail, basically, with a couple of potatoes next to it. Which is absolutely hysterical. And oh, Dave, lobster is sea cockroach. Pretty much, yeah. I do like crayfish. I do not like lobster. And it depends on how the crayfish is prepared, too. Brock Sampson, I understand, but it's way over the top. Yeah, I know. But he's trying to keep up appearances for politically pragmatic purposes, if I had to make a guess. Holden Sneedmeyer. APAC tracker puts Thomas Massie as having no donations from said organization. This routine talk from Trump about primarying him is moronic. Well, the fact that he doesn't take APAC money doesn't necessarily mean that he's always got the right ideas in mind. I do like Thomas Massie. I have no problem with him. But yeah. Cooking Inferno, Ting Tong Ching Chong, Harold Prees, Eric Cartman. Yeah, it's funny, because I guess there were just so many fucking lobsters that they were cheap and they would just haul them out and then they'd feed them to prisoners. I mean, it would be a good source of protein, I guess. I don't know exactly the nutritional profile of lobster because I don't care enough to look into it. I will probably try lobster one more time. Like, I'll try to get it, I guess, properly made. But ultimately, the best food that I ever ate in my life, ironically, because I don't really like lobster, was crayfish related. It was in New Orleans at Ralph's on the Park. They have this crawfish bisque, actually. It's a nice creamy soup with a crayfish actually in it. And you can bite its head off and rip it apart and just eat the whole thing, basically. And it's the best food that I've ever had in my actual life. It managed to supplant eel sushi. By the way, eel, underrated in every possible way. Tea time. Bobby is obsessed with pussy. Literally obsessed. Bobby, are you having a stroke? Ripsidian, eels up inside you. I remember seeing a video from Japan once that had that connotation. That chick was having fun. Holden Sneedmeyer, but someone who takes APAC money will never side against Israel. America will come second. Well, yeah, I mean, it is a big problem. Like, for example, within Congress, I do not believe that you should be able to have dual citizenship within Congress. Doesn't matter what the nation is, you should cede your foreign citizenship. Even Ted Cruz understood this. When it was mentioned by the press, hey, you still have Canadian citizenship too. Are you even really eligible to be president of the United States? He ceded his he ceded his passport from Canada and gave up his dual citizenship. That's one for him. And then he grew a beard and suddenly didn't look like he was a pile of butter. You remember the butter incident where he he tweeted out that picture where he's like, "Oh, butter cow." I can remember. I think it was like I can remember my daughter's first words were like, "I like butter," or some really really cringy shit like that. And it was like pure Ted Cruz, and everyone was rolling their eyes, and they're like, "Oh, come on, my dude, at least try here." Brock Sampson, you're better off eating jumbo shrimp instead. Jumbo shrimp with a nice marinara sauce is okay. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Or on a salad. But the crawfish bisque that I had at Ralph's on the Park, I'm telling you, if any of you ever get to New Orleans, go to Ralph's on the Park. I'm telling you, please, I beg you to make this Mecca-like voyage, basically, because it's really good. Unless you're allergic to seafood, in which case probably you'll have to skip it. Cooking Inferno. Sticks, what's your preference? 2 girls, 1 cup, or 3 girls finger painting? I've never seen the latter, actually. I've seen Tub Girl and Lemon Party and, Meat Spin, and I watched them all back in the day, but I've never heard of 3 girls finger painting. Oh, is that the mail? I believe that's the mail, but I'm not 100% sure. No, beyond believing, Ralph's on the Park. Yeah, tell him the pirate sent you. And then tell him who I am when they ask what the hell you're talking about. Daniel Price. If I looked and acted like you, I'd kill myself from embarrassment. But then again, I guess sad and lonely fucks like you need attention, so you have to perpetually look and act like a fuckwit. I just dress the way that I fucking want, bitch. I do not care about other people's judgment. I dress this way when I'm out in public, believe it or not. Some people didn't believe me until somebody randomly snapped a photo of me and it ended up online. That was funny as hell. Rabbit, and he is here to grant you the desired attention? Well, I like to give attention to people that are watching my content. Oh, the cat is vomiting out there. I can hear it. The cat is retching at the moment. Wonder if I'm going to have to be the one to clean it up. American, what is the signature dish of Vermont? Well, we're known for maple syrup mainly. What would be the signature dish overall? It wouldn't be a chowder, because that's closer to the coast. I don't know, honestly. I don't know if there is a signature dish of Vermont. Let me look it up. We'll have some fun. Oh yeah, I guess apple pie would probably be, yeah. Apple pie or fried dough. Fried dough is often, if you go to a fair, like the Tunbridge Fair or the Rutland Fair, you'll find fried dough everywhere. And it's really, really good, by the way. Uncle Sham, pretty sure it's the Vermonter sandwich officially. I've never even heard of it, and I'm a Vermonter, so I'll look it up. Vermonter sandwich. maple bread, maple herb butter, cheddar, maple turkey, apple, and maple pickled red onions. Um, yeah, I've never even heard of this, and lived in the state most of my life. Huh. I'd try one. I'm not a huge fan of turkey, so I think I would just take ham instead, though. Maple glazed ham, that sounds more Canadian, but we're on the border anyway, so it's all good. Sounds good, though. Assuming you swap out the turkey. The only time I eat turkey, unless I was starving to death, is on Thanksgiving. And it has to have the stuffing and, the trims and everything else. Sith 22, sweet ham is vile. Oh no, one time my uncle, he made this ham and he cooked it to perfection. It was a maple glazed ham. And it was one of the most delicious things I've ever tasted, actually. I think I probably ate about half of the entire chunk of ham, actually. When you're, 13, 14 years old, you have more of an appetite. Drift speed. Ham on pizza is worse than pineapple. I think they're both perfectly acceptable. BW sticks. If Dems get back in, are they going to speed up anti-American agenda? DC state, etc. You're never going to see DC as a state. I'll explain that in a moment. I hope the census thing, Texas and Ohio, extra states, and no race districts works out. Yeah, I hope so too. Here's the thing. DC cannot legally become a state. It is physically impossible for it to do so. If you were to create a state out of DC, you would have to create an additional congressional district, because Congress has to have a place to convene in which they are untroubled by state policy. That's the whole point. That was what the founders had in mind. The fact that even a local government exists there is semi-unconstitutional. I mean, having management of certain resources, perfectly fine. But generally speaking, DC needs to be solely under the control of the legislature. So it cannot become a state. It is not possible. And it won't happen. You don't have the votes to cause it. They would have to move it elsewhere. What are they going to do? Put it out in a cornfield out in Iowa or something like that? I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with this. It'd be funny as hell, to inconvenience members of Congress and force them to move their offices. That would amuse me very greatly, but it's not going to happen. Brock Sampson, you rock the pirate look like no one else. No homo. You need the Fallout 4 general's coat and you look like a boss. Well, I've got the captain's coat. Good enough. I like wearing a tricorn. I don't give a shit if somebody has a problem with it. It doesn't matter to me. Uncle Sham, Johnny's in Ludlow has a good Vermonter sandwich. Oh, that's not too far from me. Johnny's in Ludlow. Let me look it up. I'll try one. Johnny's Kitchen. Oh, they've got a Vermont panini, too. Johnny's Kitchen. Huh. Yeah, it looks like they're, they're really highly rated. Yeah, thanks for the tip-off. I'll have to, get my ass over to Ludlow, I guess, at some point. I mean, that's like, what, a 40-minute drive, maybe? And you can always go through, Shrewsbury in the same time. See all the rednecks, Shrewsbury, where the men are men and the sheep are scared. It sounds a little bit like a Maple Monte Cristo or something like that. I'll have to try one. BW, I meant if they get back in, they will speed up their agenda. Not that they would not do it anyway, but we need time to get them to reform, so we need those seats and no race districts. True. Yeah, if the left gets back into power, I mean, you're going to have 2 years of nonstop obstruction. They're going to be constant. They'll probably impeach Trump a third time at some point for no apparent reason. They'll say that something that he did in his first 2 years was illegal. We've decided to impeach him. He won't get removed from office, but they'll impeach him anyway. And it would be fucking hilarious. Ripsidian, 40 minutes for a sandwich? Fuck that noise. Yeah, but I mean, if you're gonna like take a day trip into the Green Mountains or something like that, you might as well stop by and get a sandwich. I've never even heard of this sandwich, and I'm a Vermonter. Rabbit, thanks for allowing me to be silly here, Sticks. Love most of your work. Not sure if I'd said this in a while. Y'all have a great day. You too. Great success. Lion in the Sand, howdy from Windhoek, Namibia. Oh, you're in Namibia? Damn, that's pretty cool. I'd like to see that country. I imagine the food is spectacular, actually. It's fun to be a content creator because you make acquaintances with people from all around the world. I think there are only like 5 or 6 countries that I've never spoken with someone from the country, like North Korea, obviously, Turkmenistan, and did I ever meet anyone from Uzbekistan? I don't think so. My illustrator was Serbian. I've met people from all over the world. It's really fun, actually. Bobby Bobbinson, talk about the quartering or something, or sex or jail. Let's talk about sex. Good song, by the way. Yeah, it's fun to have. You wouldn't know, though, Bobby. Ha! Ha ha, I got you on that one. You walked right into it. Jail sex with the quartering. uh, 5-man go. Stinky caterpillars in the microwave. Awful. Ooh, that doesn't sound like much fun. Is it those tent caterpillars? Like, they'll infest anything, so. Oh, yeah, Ballon Beliefing. Namibia also enjoyed their slow-boiled goat. I like goat meat. Goat, lamb, doesn't really matter. Meat is meat. The only thing I can't really digest is pork chops. I like every other pork product, though. Bacon. I had some of that earlier, actually. Celestial137. Sticks, how do you feel about snacks like chips and pretzels? Once in a while, I'll have sour cream and onion chips with sour cream and onion dip, and I prefer to make the dip myself because I make it like a boss, by the way. Otherwise, I never eat pretzels. I'm not really into chips for the most part. I don't like a lot of carbs. I mean, I'm not on the keto diet or anything like that. It's just my body functions better when it's getting a lot of dairy and a lot of green veggies. And also some nice unprocessed meat like a ribeye steak or something like that. That's my perfect diet. That's the diet that works for me. I've noticed that people respond differently to different kinds of food, though. Some people may be lactose intolerant. Some people may function better with more carbs. Some people may function better with no meat or something like that. So I think that diets should be basically tailored to the person. Just sort of find out what they can digest properly, what they like flavor wise and so forth, and then the diet should be tailored to them. I'm gonna be polishing the sword on Styx's oily pirate feet. Goodness. Necromancer. George Harrison is my favorite Beatle. Anaho Dave. Not biltong? Well, I mean, I eat that constantly, so. Cam 2425IA. A good Iowa chop is insanely good. I'll be getting one at the Iowa State Fair this weekend. I think, isn't it next year at the Iowa State Fair they're going to have like kiosks and all sorts of crazy shit, and Melania Trump will be there and stuff? I think it's next year that they're doing that. Randall Flagg. Sticks, which type of shitlib is going to replace Bernie when he retires? He'll never retire. He'll die in office. And how bad will it be? Also, what's up with the Progressive Party in Vermont? Everything about them sounds terrible. Yeah, it is terrible. And we have no clue who's going to replace Bernie, but it will be a far left Democrat. I can guarantee that. There's no way that when he finally croaks and leaves office. No, I didn't get a text. When he finally croaks and leaves office, there's no chance of him being replaced by anything but a far left Democrat. It'll probably be like another AOC sort of situation. And it'll be bad. And it'll be shit. And the Progressive Party's shit too. Yeah, I like George Harrison because some of his solo music was pretty good as well. After he was no longer part of the Beatles because they broke up, his solo work was pretty good. And I hate this. Let me bitch for a moment, okay? I hate that far left sites ridicule George Harrison because they're like, well, other than being a Beatle, he didn't have any claim to fame. Bull fucking shit, dude. Yeah, no, he didn't release a number of bangers after he left. And apparently one time his wife... This is a funny story. I wouldn't have known about this if not for one of my exes who was obsessed with the Beatles. Apparently, one time a dude broke into their house, right? And tried to stab him to death. And he had a Mexican wife. And she beat the shit out of the dude. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Anyway, yeah. No, I like George Harrison. I mean, I used to be more of a John Lennon fan, actually. But over time, I've realized George Harrison was sort of like the most intelligent member of the group. Like, if you wanted pure charisma, it was John Lennon. If you wanted business acumen, it's obviously Paul McCartney. If you wanted spiritual guidance or true maturity, it was George Harrison. He became Zen, apparently looked at LSD under a microscope once, and then decided to quit all drugs because he's like, what the fuck am I slamming into my body? And if you want someone who's just chill, like the friendly person, that would be Ringo Starr. So they've all got their own personalities. Very interesting band. And I hate it when people go hipster mode and say, well, the Beatles were overrated. No, the Beatles are not overrated. The Beatles are one of the best acts in all of human history, actually. Let's see. Cooking Inferno. My son ate my second half of a cheesesteak. Time for an old-fashioned horse whipping to commence. I hope that's not actually a true story. Tomes Esquire. Bethesda has confirmed Heretic and Hexen, the definitive re-release, out now on PC, PlayStation 4, PS5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and Xbox Series XS. They re-released Hexen? Okay, this I'm looking into. I didn't know that Bethesda had bought up the franchise. Oh, you gotta be shitting me, dude. Alright, I'm gonna be watching that trailer later. Thank you very much for that information. Hexen was one of the greatest fucking N64 games. And the graphics were bullshit, even when you upgraded them. The graphics sucked dick, but the gameplay was fun as fuck. It was based on the Doom generator, and oh, that's probably why they acquired it, because they released a new version of Doom. That's probably how they obtained it. Can't imagine it costing too much. And Hexen got awards for its soundtrack, actually. The soundtrack was really good. The graphics had problems, and some of the gameplay occasionally had problems as well. But it was still a very, very well-made game. Imagine Doom, but you're killing armies of demons and zombies and shit like that. And that's basically what the game was. Just killing. And there were puzzles in the game too. You had to like throw a switch in order to make the other switch work and stuff like that. It was typical Doom mode. I enjoyed it very much. In fact, I think Hexen was the first M-rated game that I ever played, come to think of it. Pretty sure. I don't think I ever played any other M-rated game before that, so that was my first sort of adult game, I guess. Sith. The Hexen levels were pretty labyrinthine, if I recall. Yeah, they were a little bit confusing at times. It took a lot of effort to get through the game, and it depended, like, there were different difficulty levels, so to speak. If you played as the mage, early on in the game, you had an easy time. You could stand back and just bullseye opponents with a distance weapon, which didn't require any mana. Later on in the game, though, your powers are somewhat more limited. You can't get as much armor onto you, and your weapons don't hit as hard. With the warrior, early on in the game, it's fairly easy, because you can three-punch, any lower-level enemy into oblivion. And, of course, towards the end, you can put on a lot more armor. But your ultimate weapon, Quietus, kind of sucks, actually, honestly. With the what's it called? The cleric, that's the one that I usually choose. The cleric starts off weak as fuck. Your mace does virtually no damage. You have to dart in and out in order to hit enemies before they can hit you. And you have to do this over and over. It's, I think it was 7 hits for even low level enemies, whereas the warrior did 3, and of course the mage can just range them. So early on in the game, it sucks ass. Later on in the game, though, you get Wraithverge. And Wraithverge was incredible, because those ghosts that are summoned by your staff will eat the souls out of anything in their path. And they continue for an extended period of time, and so it was really funny. The strategy in that game is actually incredible. Copium Poppies, 1 out of 2. Check out the Claypool-Lennon Delirium. It's Sean Lennon and Les Claypool from Primus Supergroup. It's like if the Beatles time-traveled to our time and took on characteristics of Sabbath and Pink Floyd and did way more acid. Also, they wrote a song called Blood and Rockets about Jack Parsons. Claypool-Lennon Delirium. Let me look it up. Yeah, thank you. I'll watch that later. Yeah, they do look like they're on acid there. Yeah, they look slightly high. Just saying. Fragile Wolf. Been going through Black Sabbath and Ozzy's discography. Lots of underloved gems. I would recommend an Ozzy and Black Sabbath binge. Oh, I've been on one for some time. Anyway, I'm going to let everyone go here. I'm going to go offline in order to docket a bit more news, and at some point I should probably eat something. Wish I had one of those Vermonter sandwiches, actually, at the moment. Minus the turkey, of course. Get some ham in there. That's what I'm talking about. Maybe I'll have to open a restaurant and modify it. So yeah, I'll get some news. I'll docket that shit. And, of course, I do not live stream on the weekends. Oh, just a sec. Copium Poppies. They are badass live, but yeah, listen to their albums Monolith of Phobos and South of Reality. That sounds pretty cool, actually. I'll have to take a look at that. Alright, I'll be back soon. That's about all. Peace out.